like more liquid.
Still now, but
I
also
was way more
What
liquid.
a time
Liquid?
still
be
rich, but
alive.
also when I was 25.
We're live.
Oh, hello.
Hi. Welcome to Wayne's World. You guys ever seen that movie?
It's a great movie.
Or no, not the movie. I'm thinking about the actual show Wayne's World, where they're like live out of their basement.
That's part of the movie.
Yeah, it's part of the movie, but I think that show actually existed in my head.
That was like the original YouTube show.
This feels like that. We're like in the side room, going live in our own way.
Yeah.
Party on, Steven.
We're at the age now where we're making references that we think are funny and topical, and people are like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is that?"
What the
Yeah,
hell
I just
is
had to get it
Wayne's
off my
World?
chest. I didn't think it was funny. How we boys doing? Eric, what have you been up to the last 24 hours?
I've been better. I went to Vegas last night, guys. It was a surgical mission.
Okay.
One night only. Mina's family was in town, and her uncle loves to play blackjack. And he was asking about the local casinos. I was like, oh, you don't want to go there. $50 round trip, Spirit Airlines to Vegas. So we did that.
Wow. Wait, was it just
That's
you and
if
him?
You
Or
take,
no.
like not even a backpack, right?
Yeah, we took a backpack and like
They
just-
allow a backpack?
yeah, just like
Oh,
a
wow.
small little guy.
Good for
How do I
them.
plug this thing into it.
It just turns off.
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to use those
Okay.
today.
You know, we tried to save money on the lights,
I don't get the angelic lighting.
and
I want the blue light.
it was. I mean, you can turn it back on, but it's gonna turn off.
Oh, you don't plug it in. You just.
So I'm epically hungover today.
Yes. So
Uh,
we congratulate you just for being here.
Yeah, but I did go to the Sphere. I went to the Sphere to see the Postcard from Planet Earth show, and that was awesome.
You still a shareholder or considering to be a shareholder?
Still a shareholder.
Still a shareholder.
U2's not there anymore.
No, long gone.
I probably should have
Dead and Co.
seen that.
is there.
Wait, the Grateful Dead?
Yes.
Wait, why
no,
are they called Dead and
no, Eagles this weekend.
Eagles?
Eagles.
Wow. That's a good Vegas act.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks epic. I've never been there.
it was incredible, dude. And I wish you guys had seen it so we could talk more. But
Do you play blackjack?
play everything. My favorite game is Pai Gow poker. I don't know if you've
I've
ever.
actually never played Pagao.
Very Asian.
I feel like I'm too white to
very
play
Asian.
You don't
Pagao.
say.
But it's killer. This game is so good because it's very slow. You push most hands, so it's like push, 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 free drink, push,
So
push,
it's
push, free drink.
That's
Soccer.
definitely your type of game right there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've always wondered when there's just like a bunch of Asian people like standing playing.
They go
like,
3 rows
they
deep.
love the same game. and
Is
I'm
it
like,
Pai Gow
what
where they
game
go
is it?
3 rows deep?
That's like Baccarat, I think,
Okay.
but Pai Gow too.
I mean, Baccarat is a super Asian game as well, but like it's a less Asian game than Pagao. I feel.
Really? Okay.
Because like I feel like it's acceptable for like white guys to play Baccarat.
Well, there's
like, it
so
has
many
this
different
little kind of like.
There's so many different games. There's like
it's
table
like as long as
versions.
you're a DGen, you can play.
There's like
Baccarat.
there's like a version with tiles that's like the original. That's like a little more intense. I don't know. I like Pai Gow though.
Do you destroy the cards in Pagao too, like you do in Baccarat?
No.
That's
No.
dude Baccarat. When you play like the high stakes games, they just have like 100 decks on the side because they just tear up the cards every time anything undesirable happens. It's amazing.
Good alpha.
Yeah. I don't know if that was alpha, but
I mean, we were just in Vegas. I don't know how you did that.
We were just in Vegas. I was up till 4 a.m. gambling with Mina's uncle, and we got up at 6 to get our flight home,
Woof.
and which was delayed. So I'm dying. I'm dead.
All right. Well, we'll forsake you a few
Lean in,
brain cells
brother.
today.
No, lean in. Just lean in hard and crash.
Yeah.
Crash at the end of
Tensky
this.
said open face pineapple Chinese poker is my favorite. Yes, open face pineapple Chinese poker is
What
unbelievable.
Is
It
that?
is.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it is. It's a game that's only kind of played by poker people, or like poker pros or people who are like adjacent.
Oh,
to
you've been
poker
playing
pros.
Chinese poker a lot recently.
Yeah, I heard Adrian
they
is
played in the
addicted to
office.
it and just spewing money to my brother at the moment.
Yeah.
He's just paying my brother's
You should get in these games. It
fees.
sounds like.
Yeah, it's just like one of those games where it's so crack like once you start playing it, it just sinks its claws into you. It's so good and it's so addicting. It's so bad. Hell,
They start playing for paychecks around here. I'm gonna have to kibosh it. Their stakes are getting up there.
Are they just having side games in the office?
Side games all the time.
What kind of establishment are you running here?
I don't know. I don't like the distractions. You certainly can't come and play.
Dude, I was telling these guys though, Steven, that I earned this like respect of Mina's uncle. He's like the patriarch of the family because he's the oldest brother.
What did you have to do?
Well, I kind of hung out with him and like was his like Sherpa throughout Vegas for the evening. And like on this trip, after he just left, they went up to Orange County, and he's like, Eric, you are the real anchor of this family.
Oh,
I'm the patriarch,
anchor.
but the torch gets passed to you. And
Wow.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it, boys.
Yeah, you are.
Damn,
I think
good
you
job.
are ready.
So this guy had never been to Vegas?
No, he likes Vegas, but
Oh, okay.
Just need a
You're just
companion.
giving him additional.
I think the other males that are of this generation are not ready for the torch.
You
No.
talking about here in this little vicinity? He's
I'm
already
not talking
got.
about you guys.
Oh, I thought it was an
family.
insult.
No. I'm not talking about you guys.
His family.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
The other family.
Yeah.
That's big, bro.
That was huge.
Huge compliments. Says a lot about you.
Best compliment I've ever
Character?
received.
Your Zen-like nature.
He talked about. Well, I think
He sensed the Tao in you.
I actually mentioned that, and I was talking about the middle way, and he was like, "Oh wow."
Was this at like 2:30 in the morning? Like, yeah, okay.
do you guys think gambling is like a plus EV life thing to do?
No.
Probably
No?
mostly not.
So you think the entirety of Asia is just leaking value?
I don't think it's positive EV.
Have you been to Macau? It's dead silent in there. It's not like Vegas where people are
yeah,
having parties.
Macau
It's-
is depressing.
It's depressing.
No.
There's why do you think gamble culture exists though?
That's
If
a
it's
different
not-
question.
Yeah,
if it doesn't give something.
I think I get
It
your
does
main.
give something.
Your
Why
main
hasn't it like
point.
died off through multiple generations? You know?
When you say positive EV, are we talking like
No, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking
Okay.
about life.
Yeah, because I think they're.
it's a huge addiction.
I know
it
that.
ruins a lot of lives.
Yes,
But
that
these
is the mid curve take.
It also like financially like
But
decimates people.
these things can be true also about drinking alcohol, and drinking alcohol can be positive EV in the same way if you like use it correctly.
Responsibly, yeah.
If you like,
Yeah.
use it to like build relationships, camaraderie,
Yeah,
etc.
like if you marry some Eastern European girl, her father will try to murder you with shots on your wedding night. You know, it's just like a part of, it's just like a part of the culture for some reason. It's like a similar thing, but like why? Why does that exist?
I don't know. Do you have an argument for it being positive EV?
I think there is something to the idea of being like comfortable, like losing money. It like it makes you sort of less attached to it in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's definitely a benefit to that. There's
Mm-hmm.
an undeniable like camaraderie to it. It's like some particular like screening process too. The drinking is definitely a screening process.
He's
in
just
some of these
describing the
cultures.
entire crypto community right
Yeah,
now.
I was like, thought he was talking about himself.
Yeah, we lose money together.
You're a
yeah,
guy who's like pretty comfortable.
Think of the bonds that we have, in
Yeah.
spite of the horrific situation we're
I
in.
don't know.
Incredible bonds.
I think it's kind of just like that's a way to cope with all of it, and ultimately, I think it is just a way to justify an addiction. It's not a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah,
it isn't the
I'm more
Tao.
on that.
I'll tell you that much. It's a hardcore thing. Like
Yeah, too much of
it's
it
a
for
very
sure.
volatile.
Too much of everything is bad.
It's
Well,
it's a way to like just stream like just mainline like brain chemicals of all types like at once. You know,
But when you do that with someone, you can create a bond.
Yes.
you can. That part I understand. That part I think is fun.
Some of the best bonds in life are like gambling bonds. Like there's
Yeah.
people like you're in Vegas and you just had like a crazy blackjack session or craps session
Yes.
or something, and you still talk about it for like 20 years.
Bond is sealed. I'll talk about Armand's 30-minute epic crap roll for decades.
God, where was I on that one?
Yeah, missed you on that one.
First timers always have the best luck.
Oh, he just
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, there's some phenomenon.
people were throwing chips
Yeah,
at
that
him.
part I get. That
If you
part I
if you
get.
bring like a pretty girl to a craps table who's never played craps before, like everybody's just like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm playing the
double
pass
down, pass line. Yeah.
so funny.
All right. Well, if you haven't noticed, we all missed our content meeting yesterday. We didn't really decide what we were going to talk about, so we.
Wait, you guys weren't there either?
No, none of us made it.
Oh,
He was
fuck.
in Vegas. You're like, I forgot it's Tuesday, and
I never know.
Let's
Like,
clarify,
when
'cause
there's
that
a
makes it
holiday, I
sound
have
like
no
there's-
idea what's
we
happening.
do have an agenda.
No, we have an agenda.
We got one.
We just
now.
everyone put a little potpourri in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got one now.
All right, guys. Well, let's get started. Welcome everybody to the Alfalfa podcast. We are live on YouTube like we are every Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST. Eric, Armand, Steven, I'm Nick. What's up to everyone in the chat? It's filling in.
What's up,
Tunsky, Mike,
everyone?
Cam, Dan, Feech, Ben, what up?
We got a
Poog,
blippy screen going on.
Corby.
No.
No, don't worry about it.
It's not too bad. It's just like it looks like there's just like a possessed demon
Damn it.
just in the background.
Nah,
just-
it's okay. It's okay on the stream.
A bloopy screen?
This is a new bug that dropped a couple weeks
new
ago.
bug alert?
New bug.
Okay.
You guys can like the video and subscribe at all the things at alfalfapod.com. You can support the pod a few ways. Share the episode with a friend, or you can comment on the super chat, and your comment will go up on the screen. Armand, what are we drinking and also supplementing with today?
Yeah, so we're drinking some Madre Mezcal. This is some great stuff that has good distribution. You can find in a lot of places that carries Mezcal. It's one of my favorite brands. And then I've got the traditional handmade Mezcal vessel that I got from Oaxaca. So brought the vessels as well. And I've got 5 different types of salt. So if you haven't experimented with the salts, you just kind of, if you're watching, you want to kind of do one of these. Take a little dip of the salt,
A dip and a sip.
a dip and a sip, and it just changes the game. And ideally, you'd want a little orange slice as well, and take a little suckle of that on the back end.
I ate all the
Easy.
tangerines before you guys came.
And yeah, it's a great that's the trifecta right there. Is the salt,
So that
the
that
mezcal,
dark dark salt you have on the plate is a little chewy.
yeah.
What's going on there?
I think it's grasshoppers. Grind it up for
Ooh.
your delight.
Are grasshoppers just naturally salty?
That's a good question. I guess so. But yeah, it's that's what we're drinking. And I just remembered, congrats to Feech on the wedding this coming weekend. One of our community
The
members.
nuptials.
Yeah,
congrats, buddy.
Congrats. Have
Congrats,
fun.
dude.
Yeah, big congratulations. I know a lot of the Alfalfa community will actually be there. So
Amazing.
send pics, guys. Yeah.
Tasty. Cheers to you, Feech. All right, guys, let's get into our sponsors. Check out alfalfapod.com. Or no, sorry, Jesus Christ. Zbiotics.com/alfalfa. You can get 15% off Zbiotics if you use the code alfalfa at checkout. So as a reminder, the pre-alcohol probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. So the pre-alcohol probiotic has an enzyme. It breaks down the acetaldehyde, the byproduct, down. And you drink it before drinking. For the cost of one drink, you can make sure all those other drinks don't torture you in the morning. I took my Z-Biotics before. I even had one ready for Steven because I knew he would forget his.
Which I didn't.
You didn't, surprisingly.
I did not. Thank you.
Surprisingly.
I'll take it.
You want it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, all right.
did.
Here, pass it down.
Pop it.
Pop it.
Pop it.
Nice. Toss.
Pop it. I'll do it
Yeah.
on air, Z. Fuck
All right.
it.
Let's also give a shout out to Magic Spoon. So you go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa and you get $5 off the variety pack. I got peanut butter here. There's frosted. There's fruity as well.
You always forget the blueberry muffin.
Yeah. Blueberry muffin's not in the variety pack, but still worth pulling.
It's worth checking out.
Yeah. Is that the one you?
It's like my second favorite.
What's your first?
The fruity.
Fruity. It's like your childhood cereal that we shall not name.
Yes.
I started putting it
Don't
in
you dare name it.
Greek yogurt.
Ooh. Like a
Like
mash.
instead of granola. Granola's all carbs.
So you get
All
protein,
carbs, all
Good.
sugars.
It's a good
protein
hack.
bomb.
Yeah.
I like that.
Does anyone know how
Morning
many of these
breakfast.
little guys? It's 20% of the box. So you could put a lot of them in there. You get 14 grams of protein. It's
a
4
phenomenal
net
breakfast.
carbs per serving. So that must mean there's some decent fiber in here. Oh, it's only 1 gram of fiber.
Can't believe you haven't memorized the entire nutrition label yet.
I know I should by now.
Messed up.
This one has 170 calories. But it's keto friendly. Helps you support the healthy lifestyle. So yeah, check out magicspoon.com/alfalfa and use the code alfalfa at checkout. Thanks, Magic Spoon, for always giving us some love.
I'm back on breakfast, guys.
I'm
You're
never going
all
back
over
on
the
breakfast.
place, man. Sometimes you're one meal a day. Sometimes you're intermittent fasting. Now you're back on breakfast.
Thus is life, my friend. Always growing.
But hold on, are you on
evolving.
like Eric's type of breakfast? Because this guy will have a double cheeseburger
like
for
the
breakfast.
double cheeseburger,
Yeah.
5 a.m.
Yeah.
No.
I did have a double cheeseburger with bacon at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. this morning.
Wow, really?
Well, that was you
Yeah.
were still awake.
Guy eats
wild.
dinner
That's
entrees
different.
for breakfast.
That's
Always.
wild.
Spaghetti and meatballs, 7 a.m., whatever. Kubi
I,
day.
I like somewhat do that, but I don't do like mega carb.
Yeah,
Like
no.
I'll eat like a steak.
I go fat,
for
and
sure.
protein, breakfast. But I've noticed, like, first of all, you can't get enough protein in if you're intermittent fasting. It's difficult. The window's too small. And so for me, I think what's more important is like, Peter Attia talks about the 3 levers, like either reduce the calories, reduce the portion, or reduce the window that you eat in. I think those are the 3 levers.
It's the
And
type, the time, and the
It's probably
amount.
better to memorize a formula like that. But yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I'm like optimizing for more protein. And like if you're having shakes and yogurt and stuff like that, meat throughout the day, I mean, if you're eating within a 5-6 hour window, it's just not enough. So I felt amazing firing off on all cylinders by fasting and just doing coffee until I broke the fast. But what I found is that if you focus on fats and protein, you can pretty much get the same effect, that you still feel really sharp mental acuity throughout the day, like as if you're fasting. If you just eat some like a protein shake or yogurt, like dude, if you find like Costco has this Greek yogurt that is like 1 gram of sugar, like really low sugar. It's like 15 or 16 grams of protein, 100 calories. It's amazing. So like if you can find a good quality Greek yogurt to start your day with, yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's great.
Yeah, must be nice to be able to eat dairy.
Well, I can't eat dairy normally, but I'm just having a good phase right now. Actually,
It's like
what's
to
the
start your day
brand?
off crapping your pants.
No, I use a lactose intolerant. I use a
Lactaid?
lactose-free yogurt.
Oh.
So it's real
You didn't
milk,
mention that.
but it's lactose-free.
Okay.
Trying to remember the brand.
Costco has that?
I think it's Faye. No,
Fire?
Fage.
F-A-G-E.
Faja.
Fascia?
Oikos.
People call it, I don't know, Azure. Not one to pronounce things correctly. But yeah, anyway.
Oh, you guys have such good morning routines. I have the worst morning routine in the world right now.
Get
I
up,
don't
look at screens.
Really?
I don't
I
think that
literally
shocks
woke up
anybody.
at 4:55 a.m. I sat in bed for 4 minutes going,
I can just hear the sound too.
I believe
Just
you.
and then I
then maybe
roll
like
out of
one of those
bed.
laughs,
I
too,
pick
like-
up the shorts I left on the bed the night before, put them on, and then I just go on the computer.
So I had a phase in my life like that, and I got really depressed.
I don't feel great.
I'm not,
I don't
I'm
feel
not-
great.
I'm not projecting. I just remember, like, do you remember when I started coming to the office, Nick? You remember before?
Yes.
And I was like, dude, I don't feel good. Can I come to, like, can you help me? Like, do you have space?
You
Like,
want to hang out?
No, because I was sitting at home working and doing what Steven is talking about, and I started to get, like, really in a funk. I was like, this doesn't feel
Steven,
good
you want
for
to come to
me.
the office?
Wait, what do you need? You don't seem like the guy that needs an office space, though.
No, I need,
just need, like,
like
morning
every dude. So when I wake up in the morning, it's like, do I want 20 minutes of sleep or 20 more minutes on the chart? Like I already wake up kind of late. Like if I lived in New York, I would be up at 6 a.m. and
Yeah,
I would just
that'd
be
be nice.
chilling. I'd have like a workout routine. I'd get down on my computer. I'd be like calmly open up all the markets, look at what's going on, maybe think about my day, maybe take the dog for a walk. But I
Yeah.
can't do that on the West Coast. It's like, do I
Right.
sleep or do I wake up and go, ah! and just like mark up stuff? And it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's part of the, I guess, price of admission for you.
It's not great.
I like the reusing the shorts from the night before. That's the best.
Yeah, no. Like I literally will rewear my clothes I took off the night before in the morning.
Maybe
Just-
small change. That might just bring a whole new life to your.
Like
your
when my
shorts.
session's over, then I like go take a shower,
Okay.
change my clothes.
Do you have
Like,
like a
Just a fresh set of underwear might make you feel better.
Do you have like a pile, like a separate pile for like the what do I call
Oh my
it?
God, do we talk about the medium pile
Yeah,
before?
yeah, because I have a medium
I
pile.
have a medium pile.
you have a medium pile?
My wife hates this.
I have a medium pile.
Every man has a medium pile.
The medium pile is like clothes that you've worn, but you can still
They're not
can't
dirty.
wear again.
fold it up and hang it up quite yet, like
Yeah.
it's fresh. You need to recognize that it's been worn,
Yeah.
but it's not ready for the hamper.
I don't put it in a pile. Like I will inspect it and smell it. If I can't tell, it just goes back on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then if I sniff it, go no. Then I'll like throw it in. But I can't put it in a pile. So I have too many other piles.
My wife will wear something for 5 minutes and immediately put it in the hamper. I'm like, that's not ready to be
Girls
washed.
are psychopaths. They like wash jeans.
She washes
like
her
every
jeans.
time they wear it. It's,
Every day. Exactly.
oh my god.
Gross.
My wife does that. She'll
It's not how you
wear-
treat a cast iron skillet.
She'll wear her jeans and wash them the same day.
Got to season it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jean seasoning.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, boys.
Wait.
What?
Were
got
you
something?
gonna do something?
Yeah, I was gonna
This
like I don't
sounds-
know.
this
Talk
sounds
about
important.
what was in the.
It's not important at all.
No, but
I was gonna ask if anybody watched The Bachelorette.
No, we're
Well,
moving.
no, definitely that's not important, and no, we didn't watch
Why?
it.
That's-
Was there
I-
something to...
Well, it was kind of interesting actually. So, it was 3-hour finale, which I didn't know. Super long. But they did kind of like the DEI candidate thing this season. They're like, "Yay, we have the first Asian ever," right? And it was just like, "But she's not interesting. I don't care." So this whole season was like a mega snooze. But in the last episode, like all hell broke loose, right? Like so they got to the end, and then they're basically just like, plot twist, they broke up already.
Oh.
Yeah, and then like they just sat there and like made her like watch her proposal, like having known they had already broken it off. It was some scummy shit. Anyway, this guy who won was like I think he just like won, and then like his DMs are flooded, right? Like just he's like, I'm in love. 6 days later, gets off 20,000 DMs. It reminds me of that. Have you ever seen
So
that?
he just expanded the pool. He used the show as an entry point,
Lead gen.
top of the funnel.
That's what it's
to
supposed to be
actually
for,
create. I mean, it is on the show, right? It's like you get like what 20 girls or something.
yeah, it's.
I've never
I
watched
mean-
a single episode.
Well, this is like the girls doing it, and then there's just like
Oh.
20 guys, right?
Okay, that's.
But it reminded me that you guys listen to Bill Burr? You know, like Bill Burr's
I know
like
who he is.
you know, like the
Comedian?
gold digging whores
No,
thing.
no.
So funny. He just talks about like how when you get famous, like as a guy, like nothing prepares you. Like the line in the joke is like, nothing prepares you for the army of, like the over the charging over the hill, right? And it just like get me thinking, like, would you be able to handle that? Like, what if you were on like The Bachelor, and you won, and you're just saying all these things, you're like, I love you
You
forever.
can't be in a relationship.
Get off the show. So if you were on TV, you just can't be in a relationship.
I think you got to enjoy that for at least 5 years. You know. I mean, that's the point.
So you would be able to handle it by just welcoming
Oh,
all
yeah.
of it into your life.
Oh, I'd be fine. It'd be fine. I'd be fine.
Oh my God.
You know, write articles about me, Huberman me. I'd be like, yeah, all right.
I mean, the Bill Burr joke is like funny because like it was originally like when Tiger Woods like kind of like cheated on his Swedish supermodel wife, and
Oh,
everybody was like,
yeah.
"How you such a bastard." But then like the whole joke was like, you know, it's like you know what that's like.
Yeah, the
because like
guy-
there's like nobody on earth knows what that's like except for like 1 in 100,000 people.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said, how many girls did he turn down?
I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this, like how much like willpower that takes, and how difficult it is for a man in a prominent position to be able to like resist and deal with that and like stay tunnel vision in his life. So I wish that upon none of us.
Oh, it's gotta be like horrific.
It sounds terrible. If you want to be like a responsible family man, that's like the worst thing you could ever have.
Yeah.
I would delete everything. I would just go like full Keanu Reeves. Just
Well, I was actually
I
reading
fucking love that guy.
Keanu's wife died. His
What?
kid died.
I didn't know
And
that.
that's probably why he's the way he is.
Sister, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So
Holy
way.
shit.
Or got
I didn't
sick.
know that.
Something happened to his sister as well. Keanu has a lot of traumatic things that have happened to him.
Actually, a week ago, I don't know why I thought about it, but he would be one of the people I would like to interview.
Oh, that
If
would
he had,
be
like, a wish list?
Amazing.
I think it'd be fun.
Amazing.
Be different.
Dude, if you've seen him, like, even when he's not being asked deep questions, he says incredibly deep things. I think he was on Colbert, and, like, he had, like, you know, he has those viral clips that go around where he's just, like, he has, like, Winnie the Pooh wisdom. He'll just, like, drop these, like, really very clear thinking,
Wait,
very simple
Jordan Peterson?
explanation. No, we're talking about Keanu Reeves right now.
Oh,
Moved on. On to Keanu, and he's just so opposite of Jordan. Like Jordan's
Yeah.
like very detailed, verbose. Keanu's like to the point and simple. It's like Taoist poo. So Jordan's like Shakespeare. Totally different end of the spectrum. Anyway, I really like Keanu.
Let's get him on the pod.
He's a good
Yeah,
man.
sure.
yeah, come up.
Um,
I'm shocked at how many people in the chat have a medium pile. I didn't even know this was a
This
thing.
is
Oh
a-
my God.
Everyone's
It's
got
a
a
real
medium
man.
pile.
We
Can I
should
hear-
have titled this episode "The Medium Pile."
Can I hear some of the chat and their discussion of the medium pile? Because
100% medium pile on the hall tree.
Like this is a confusing comment.
Wait, people
wait,
have a whole.
What do you
Wait.
mean, Carby?
Yeah, we want to know. Do you have like a specific
think he
furniture
has a
item for the
specific
for the
hanger.
medium
That's
pile?
genius.
Dan
Oh, there's
also
a-
has a medium
I'm imagining
pile.
one of those like coat hangers.
and he just puts the medium pile on
And
coat
just
on
boop.
like the hangers.
I think there
Wow.
should be like a specific furniture item for the medium pile. I haven't seen it exist yet, but
Yeah, no,
Drives.
I've kind of like
My wife
co-opted
crazy.
this extra hamper, and I put the medium pile in this extra hamper.
Also, you will never catch. I haven't seen a woman do the smell test. Every guy I know does the
smell test immediately.
Always smell test. Yeah.
No
it's fresh.
way.
You test it. You smell test the zones,
What?
the pits.
You guys smell test the zones?
Yeah.
Of course.
What do you mean? You don't
That's
smell
how
test
you know
before you
it's
pick out of the medium
medium-worthy.
pile?
I don't stink.
Oh, come on.
Oh my god, this guy! I can't even.
It's kind of
Alright,
gross.
this
when you
right
think
now.
about
I'm
it.
moving this on.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any alfalfa they specifically wanted to share? Any moves?
Yeah. Don't get famous.
Okay. Don't get famous and be poor at least, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be poor.
Go to the Sphere.
You're
Own the
welcome.
Sphere stock.
Go to Sphere. Oh, I did a real estate deal. I haven't done one in like 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
3 years.
Apartment
Wow.
deal.
Is it
It's
time?
Maybe longer. Maybe longer.
You were patiently waiting. You were patiently waiting for the time. Is it time?
Could be a little early.
Did you run it through your checklist?
I did. Did.
Excellent.
Looks good. The purchase price is 40% below the replacement cost. It's 2 apartments combined into one deal, and both were somewhat distressed sellers. So one had a fund. I hate investing these funds. So it was going on like 8 years in the fund, and at a certain point they have to liquidate, right? Because like
Just to realize something.
yeah, like your LPs are asking you like, hey, I invested in this illiquid fund. I'd like to see the money back. So they had to liquidate, and then there was one that was off market. Seller got stressed out, and so I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep you guys updated with it.
That's a cool. I mean, it's a good entry price. Like you're like a Warren Buffett of real estate now.
Yeah, I wish. I had a lunch with one of the general partners, and was asking him. I was like, "You said there was going to be all these distressed deals. Like, where are they?" And he said that the lenders are kind of playing this pretend and extend game. Like, they don't actually want to put the screws to him either, because they don't want to end up with the keys.
Ruins their game. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of just like hoping, playing along until hopefully interest rates come down. So he's like, the lenders haven't been tightening them on them. So
That's
anyway,
that's a distressed debt playbook.
yeah, and he also said like maybe 3 deals over the next 12 months. So not a lot. So we got to deploy some capital.
What do you guys think about real estate right now? Because
Like
I feel
single
like there's-
family
there
or-
are, like yeah. Like
Okay.
you guys are both maybe shopping for a house to live in.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I feel like there's 2 interesting. I find them sort of equally compelling cases. We'll talk about like this particular market. I guess maybe before I lay out the cases, like, are you bullish real estate right now? Are you bullish San Diego single
Yeah.
family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You
San
Have you
Diego
thought
will-
about it much?
Yeah, I can't reach a conclusion.
Okay, good. What are your thoughts, Nick?
I mean, there's just always demand for San Diego real estate. Like, even when we've had slowdowns, San Diego, you look at the drawdowns in San Diego real estate, it doesn't go down as much as the average. And if interest rates go down, there's going to be this like tipping point where mortgage rates hit, or even if people feel confident, they're just going to start buying. And I think prices will go up. People knowing that like, well, they'll go down some more, and then I'll refi my, mortgage payment a little lower.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of pent up demand.
I would love to hear
lot.
a contrarian take to this. just to
The
make me feel better.
contrarian take is like very similar to the bull take, though. Well, I don't know which take is contrarian, the
Okay.
bull or the bear. Like I've been thinking for a while that Fed's gonna cut, and then suddenly everybody's gonna just panic, flood into the market because rates go down, mortgage prices go down, prices start going up. People want to just get the house before the price starts going up. They refi all the way down, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But like I'm kind of like undecided now, like Armand. Like I'm confused because
I'm
I-
very confused.
I can see it going the other way too, where like you have all these sellers who are just like this is something I've thought about. Like there was like a moment where I was like, I wonder if I should like sell my house and downsize and just get like a smaller place and calm down. But then like I look at mortgage rates and it's just like, oh, like I could buy a house like half the value of my current house and the mortgage payment would be the same. So I'm never gonna sell.
Never.
But a lot of people probably think that. So like, is all this inventory gonna unlock? Is it gonna be like a flood of inventory?
There'll still be more demand than the people
think so?
selling, for sure.
I agree.
I think
I hope
so
you're right.
too, because that's one thing I'm certain of is the pent up demand.
I mean, we last
I
left
haven't
off.
had a conversation with anybody where they're not like, we would love to buy, we're waiting to buy. we'd
Everybody
love
in
to buy, we
our
wanna
like
buy.
generation is waiting to buy, and then you see stats on like how much money is in like money market funds right now. It's off the charts.
That's true. Like
Exactly.
Anecdotally, like I feel like I know 15 people who are waiting to buy
Yeah,
and like
only in
2
this
people who are
market.
waiting to sell.
that I know.
Yeah, and if we remember where we left off, people were buying homes with all cash. Like when you went to go check out a house and potentially put an offer, there was always an all cash offer. So I don't know if that comes from like baby boomers passing down, or you just have extremely wealthy people moving to San Diego. Maybe they sold a house in San Francisco or a place in New York that was more expensive, and they're parlaying the cash into, buying an entire place with cash in San Diego. But we didn't
Yeah,
necessarily leave off with people struggling to purchase San Diego homes.
Yeah.
Like you even said, San Diego, especially coastal real estate, is like the best NFT you could buy. It's like it's unique, and it's not like they're not printing more of it.
NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah, single
Sorry to
family
bring that
single family is interesting because you just have like fixed land and it's all used around here.
Yeah.
Like you just can't build another house, but you can build a lot of apartments still.
Yeah, you can.
So it's kind of a weird market. I mean, real estate is so idiosyncratic depending on the market you're in and the type of.
This apartment complex, one was in Phoenix and one was in Silicon Valley, actually. So a little Northern California spot. And the issue there is that the supply, it's harder to build in Silicon Valley. There's not like a whole lot of new supply coming online. So, 2025, the supply should dry up. No new units coming on, and hopefully we'll see some appreciation.
Oh Lord, I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think
Hope
you're
you're
good.
right.
You're good. Your house is very desirable. So if that's what you're thinking about, the value of your own home,
Yes,
it's very desirable. Your view is unreal.
I feel.
Yeah, just being in
feel better.
this more downtown neighborhood, generally downtown, is Mission Hills in particular. You know, it's always going to be desirable.
All right. Before we move on, a hall tree is a standalone coat hanger.
I knew it.
You nailed it, dude.
Taza says medium piles all the way. I have a medium shelf. I like this. All right, we're not alone.
This is an underrepresented majority, or like it's like a silent majority.
To be honest, I think that we're like, we need our own version of social justice.
Medium piles.
We need to be represented. Yeah, there's a lot of like,
Might need bigger
vilifying
problems.
it.
How many times can we get canceled? In the
Yeah, well, you're responsible for 2 of those already. All right, so I want to continue. Remember after the pod, we went out and had a few drinks, and we were just chatting about our crypto portfolios. Not to get too deep into it, but we kind of posed the question, like, are our crypto portfolios just up to a coin toss now? And Armand, you have that coin toss on the screen. Eric, can you throw that up? So here we have the presidential election winner odds on Polymarket, and it's essentially a coin toss. Looks like Trump's got a few points in the last couple
He's
days.
back, baby.
If anyone in the chat, we were talking about this before we went live, by the way. If anyone in the chat can explain to me like what caused in the last couple days the Trump 53.
What was it a couple days ago?
It's just polling. It's just
I
new
know,
polls.
but like, what was the
We don't know.
Because if it's polling, there was a new Kamala poll that showed she is like going to win by a landslide.
Was Trump behind on the poly market a second ago?
It was like
there's
50-50.
there's like maybe like one outlier poll. That
I
shows
read
that.
one recently, the newest one that came out.
No,
Kamala's,
like
Nate
the
far
overwhelming
lead.
amount of polling data, like recently, has been like
I'm
very.
just wondering, like,
yeah.
so Kamala did her CNN interview, that didn't do anything. Donald
didn't
Lex
help her.
interview, that didn't do anything. Shouldn't have done anything.
I
so-
mean, that just came out, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
have any effect.
all right. Anyway,
So the question is, beyond just, I don't know, we go into some crisis and the Fed just like starts printing massive amounts of money. Are our crypto portfolios just a bet on who wins the presidency at this point? I'm thinking like in the next 6 months.
Yes.
So we kind of got it wrong then, because for the last 2 years or so, we were talking about them being liquidity batteries, and they're like a trade on monetary policy and liquidity. And your new stance is that this is a regulatory trade.
Bitcoin is.
Yeah, I mean, like I went through all my positions in my portfolio this weekend, and I had to remake the argument to myself for each position. And the argument for most of the crypto is like currency debasement. So I still think that's the like main long-term reason. But in terms of the next like 3 to 6 months, like what's gonna move it in a material way?
what argument did you come up with for dog with hat?
Don't have that in my portfolio. You have to ask
You're
our
missing out.
yeah.
So on the regulatory side, in simple terms, right? Like for something like ETH or smart contract-based platforms, you would want a regulatory environment that allows tokenization, where you can like tokenize securities and allow way more
Or just
trading of real assets.
stablecoin proliferation. Like I heard former speaker Ryan on the Bankless pod. Shout out to the Bankless boys. Yeah, he made a pretty good argument.
It probably doesn't help like shitcoin prices that much though.
No,
I think that's like a pure regulatory play. Because you're basically like just giving Wall Street the blessing to do
everything.
a whole new world of weird financial engineering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily see like some wild debasement like we saw with COVID. So that may happen slowly over time. So the next thing is a coin toss. And like if you had to re-rate your portfolio and remake the argument, would you bet the same amount of money that you have currently bet on it on this coin toss? Like, I don't know the amount of money in my crypto portfolio I would bet on this outcome. I certainly wouldn't. But
Yeah.
essentially that's what I'm doing right now.
I mean, I de-risked substantially
Okay.
already, so I feel like I have the amount bet that I want to bet. I think as like a small person, you have the ability to just like shove all your chips in, like depending on who wins. Like it's not like you have to scale into a $2 billion position. So, and like you said, I just feel like you're just gambling. Like unless you're buying something at like a mega distressed price, and as low as stuff is, like I don't feel like it's like mega distressed.
So,
So
like-
mega distressed to me for ETH is probably like 1,600.
which is not that far away. I guess like what I'd ask, because like I'm in probably a different position than maybe Steven, right? Steven has de-risked significantly. I'm playing like a long-term hold game. So for people who are DCAing, you see crypto prices kind of down right now. Would this 50-50 coin toss affect your DCA program? Like,
Well,
Great
can we pull up
question.
another chart maybe that might affect it? Do you mind pulling up the S&P 500 election cycle? That one. Zoom in on that bad boy. So what we're looking at here is the S&P 500 election cycle versus the current year S&P 500 chart. So the current year is in red, and if you're listening, join the YouTube and check out the charts. But basically what all of these shows in previous election cycles, kind of starting in September, you see a little dip. Actually, not a little dip. In some cases, a material dip into the end of October. And kind of right at the end of October, maybe the beginning of November, when maybe there's more certainty about who might win the election, that is the bottom. And then we see like quite a bit of a bull run through the rest of the year.
yeah, that's interesting. This chart's interesting. I think the biggest correlation you see is the pump in early November. That's the one that stands out to me as like that seems to.
By
In-
the certainty pump.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like just uncertainty, and then now we have certainty. And even if it's bad, at least you know how to navigate it, and a pump in a year end. So I'm kind of finding solace in this, and yeah, wish I would have held back some buys like that I made last month till now, but I'm just gonna kind of be patient.
I mean, this correlates to like how I feel about the market, which is that everything looks like it wants like one more puke lower of indeterminate size. So that would make sense. Like I don't see what just turbos is back to all-time highs right now, other than some like unforeseen white swan.
Right.
So-
White swan.
Otherwise, you're just kind of playing this election trade, and then if the election goes the wrong way, it just the dip probably just keeps on dipping.
Yeah. But I mean, so you think crypto might keep dipping, but the S&P 500 could potentially rally.
I think if Kamala wins, I think that's very bearish for, like, I had this discussion with Elevate Bliss in the Discord where he's just like, long term, I don't think these things matter. And I was like, yes, I agree, but like crypto is the most impatient asset class on the planet. Like people are like, oh, nothing's gonna happen for the next 3 months, sell.
Yeah.
So the idea that nothing would happen for 4 to 8 years, oh my god, like I feel like everything could just
It would
absolutely like we haven't really done the internet bubble thing yet. Like we like to think we have in our minds, but like we kind of really haven't. Like the internet bubble was very bad.
Well,
Like
we
that
didn't-
was
I think we had the run up. I just don't think we had the burst necessarily.
yeah, like we might not have that burst. Like if Trump wins and he just decides to appoint somebody who just is just basically like green flag, go. All the regulation kind of comes off and we do like the quote unquote innovation thing, then everything's just gonna turbo. Like alts will send so freaking hard. Like there's just like so much money sitting on the sidelines to buy stuff. There really is, because it's like why would you buy it now? You're literally just gambling, right? So I do think things will turbo super 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 hard. But like if that doesn't happen, yeah, I think we probably go through some just turbo capitulation event.
But it'd be a buy the news event potentially.
Yeah, it's probably like a buy. It's
If
probably a buy.
Kamala
for news
wins.
event. I think crypto is different from the stock market, because the stock market, like, people talk about the regulation and the cap gains. I just feel like that stuff's like all kind of priced in already in stocks, and it doesn't kind of come to pass. But there's like an actual like delta to be had in terms of like the D administration versus the R, in terms of like the regulation and like what effect that will have on prices. And like you see what it did to Bitcoin. It's godsend to Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin would be
So-
like 28K right now.
We've like isolated that regulatory variable. There's still like the liquidity variable that certainly plays a role.
That's the longer term like anchor probably, right?
And I think that probably works in our benefit regardless of who's in power,
Yeah.
right?
You're right on that. That's been your take. Doesn't matter. In the end, they'll both spend.
Well, I'm presuming, but
Yeah.
you guys still
Well,
on board with that?
yeah, like I don't think Solana is like a liquidity battery. I mean, it is in a sense, but like it's mostly like a regulatory on-off switch. You know, it's just like regulation off. You know, coin go up. So
All right.
yeah, tough one to play.
Well, we got a little game plan for the next few months. Last one. Let's pull up this one. So this is a Bill Miller passage. I'll read a few quotes from it. He talks about part of what people insufficiently distinguish about investing or confuse is the difference between frequency and magnitude. That is, how often you're right or wrong versus how much money you make when you're right and how much money you lose when you're wrong. The other bolded quote is, as a result, they focus on how often they are right and not how much money they make when they are right. So I guess if we wanted to, kind of follow in his quotes, is this a matter of just always making high risk return bets, or is it acknowledging when you have a grand slam on your hands and shoving in? Because if you just made really good
Well, I
high
think-
risk
I
return
think
bets consistently, you would make money when you're right.
There's another element to it that I think I've learned over time, which is like, the old adage for the stock market is like buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned is like you buy low or high on a good asset, you sell never. Like you let that sucker ride because like you got to get that slugging percentage higher.
You got a few examples that come to mind?
Well, Nvidia, for instance,
Yeah.
I sold at split adjusted $30, and that was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I mean, I bought it.
You still made a killing.
I mean, I bought it at split adjusted $1.
Right.
Didn't keep a
sold it at
moon
30.
bag.
I've bought back in since. So, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, and another thing that I wanted to point out with this is like, it's kind of a feather in the cap of indexers because like the people who index are typically like buy and hold guys. They get exposure to these 50xers, 100xers, you know, even if it's a small part of it, but that ends up basically like building their portfolio return.
Right. Do you guys ever have like a rubric or just a feeling when you know when to slug? Like when we were talking about Coinbase, whatever, however long that goes ago, a year and a half ago or whatever, it was at $75 or $50 even, forget when. But like, did you guys have a feeling that this is a one to slug it out and lay heavy on? And how do you, I guess the big thing I'm trying to take away is how do I know that, you know, when the next one comes? Feeling, or is it like an analysis?
Mine's typically not like, oh, I just discovered something new, but it's more like I already had a strong thesis and a belief in something that I didn't own, like Coinbase. And then when I watched it go down to $30, I was like, I have to buy this. It was that simple. That's when I shoved in. And that's when we talked about it on the pod. So it was just like I was bullish on it. I just didn't own any. And it just was so volatile. It was at 200 previously, went down to $30. I did the same thing with Solana. It was at 200 all-time highs, went down to $19, shoved in at $19. That was just like earlier this year.
Do you think it had something to do with the fact that you were counter to what's priced in, or you were counter to what the popular belief was about
Well, yeah,
those
everyone
assets?
was just like, it's dead, it's over, it's, you know, this is a terrible asset. And I'm sitting there going like, no, it's not. Like, it's obviously clearly not. I want to own this long term, or medium term at least, with Solana. Coinbase I want to own long term. Solana I was certain that I wanted to own in the medium term. I didn't know there was going to be like a meme coin frenzy, of course, that like happened directly the way that it did on Solana, but I knew, okay, it'll achieve previous all-time highs again at some point, I think, or close to it. So to me, that was like my easy, unsophisticated way of looking at it.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I mean, the reality of this question is that if you have no system, then yeah, you're just sticking your finger in the wind, obviously.
And you should
you're
probably
just
be
making
indexing.
like a gut call, right? There are systems that professionals have where they have a bunch of different variables that they
What's
take
the
into
bet sizing
consideration.
formula? The
Kelly
Kelly
criterion?
Kelly criterion.
Yeah, Kelly criterion's tough because it's just like when you talk about something like a Coinbase or like like your sample size isn't big enough to actually evaluate what your edge is. So you can't use the Kelly criterion because you don't actually know what your edge is, right? You could use Kelly criterion for something like, oh, there's like a scalp you take on the 1 minute chart and it happens like 20 times a week, and then you can kind of get a lot of data on that, right? And if you have a system like that, like you may have like one thing that happens and it's like, oh, I have an edge here. But then there may be like 2, 3, 4 things that coincide with it. And you're like, oh, wow, all of these things are in alignment. Because like trading and investing is messy. Like sometimes like some things tell you go long. Sometimes some things tell you to sell, right? And it's also different if you're investing or trading. Like this idea that like, oh, you can make 50x your money on AOL or something. That's like only an investment mindset.
Yes.
Like you can only say that like if your downside is just like you lose what you put in, right? It's like you have a stop loss. You have a built-in stop loss. Like if you take trades using leverage and you hope to get like a 50 to 1, like you're gonna blow your account. Like you can't do that. Like you're often way better off just like not anchoring yourself to all these like mega winners. Like, and if you're on Twitter, this is like hard to do, or X. God, I hate this still. Because all you just see is like people posting like 20 to 1, like risk or oh, I bought this coin for $1 and now it's worth like 1,000. And like in reality, the way to like get rich is just like take like a million 1-to-1s or 1.5-to-1s or 2-to-1s, and it's usually pretty greedy after that. Like if you're trading, again, like investing is a different story.
So, question: like, I hear you guys on like having like some sort of framework, but sometimes isn't it just as simple as like having a lot of conviction about something? Because I just sat back and I thought about it. I'm like, wait a second, I have actually had strong conviction about certain things. I bought Nvidia 13 years ago, like similar time as Eric. I think it was like 30 cents,
Split adjusted.
split adjusted, or Bitcoin in like late 2012, 2013. So it's like I remember the way I would do this too. I would just like sit and read and absorb as much as I possibly could about something, and then I would just develop some level of like conviction and be like, yeah, you know what? Like, and Nvidia was writing about what they're doing today. 13 years ago, they were like, this is our thesis. This is what we believe. This is how we think the AI space is going to evolve. This is where we have an edge. And to me, it made sense at the time.
It's just like a non-quantifiable thing, though. You
It
know, you're
is.
just like, oh, my conviction's high, so I'll bet more. you
Uh,
know?
But all those
well-
methodologies sometimes are just backing up having an algorithm to eventually arrive at the same destination, which is conviction to place a bet
I mean,
and own an asset long term.
I can talk to the investment side of this.
Yeah.
First of all, Kelly Criterion, I find it unusable because when I plug into the Kelly Criterion, it tells me that I should allocate 99.9% of my funds into this one thing, and like in a practical sense, you can't do that. I think from an investment perspective, you can absolutely make these things quantifiable by like, modeling out your expectations of the company's future cash flows and turning that into a valuation on a stock. In my personal history, where I've like, look, like if we're going to continue with this baseball analogy, you're going to try to get your highest slugging percentages on your fattest pitches. So there's a couple variables with this. You want to like be able to identify a fat pitch first of all. That takes like either intuition or training or some kind of knowledge, right? So like Armand knows tech and he has an idea about that and like sees a fat pitch within tech. Like Tesla, you saw that early and you're like, I just like this tech. I think it's going to win. Or you can like have a, intrinsic value, like model that you build or whatever. It's identifying the fat pitch. And then there's also ways where you can like fuck it up, dude. Like execution, a fat pitch comes, you swing as hard as you can, you like miss in baseball, right?
Yeah.
Like I fucked up fat pitches on execution and investing where I'm like going long the calls and the expiration is like a month too soon, missing out on $1 million where you like fuck up a fat pitch. So I think for me, how I identify them is more akin to what Armand's saying, where it's like I can see, like I thought Ethereum and Bitcoin are fat pitches, so I swing hard and they're like languishing, but I feel like it's still good to just hold.
I think that's the Warren Buffett sort of framework, which is really just
I mean, particularly with like I'm compounding like in ETH terms, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. Like if this actually does anything,
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, the TLDR of this little snippet, though, is basically like something that every trader intuitively, not even intuitively, they just like know this. Like what matters isn't your win percentage. It's just like how much money you win at the end of the day.
Right.
And how much money you win is the percentage of times you're right times how much money you make. Right. So if you have a strategy that works 50% of the time, and you make one for every one you risk, then you're not making any money. And
Right.
somebody else could have a strategy that works 20% of the time, and they make 10 to 1, and that guy's crushing.
But like keep in mind, Bill Miller, who wrote that, is like a deep value investor. So he's looking for the 50x return from the long term hold. And
Yeah.
he's like talking to that.
But
Talking over decades potentially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but people have like a unit bias of sorts to like how frequently are you right? Are you right a lot? Oh, you must make money if you're right a lot. But that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Like if you write options, you could be right a lot and lose everything.
I mean, a billionaire that we know here in San Diego, well, I don't know him as well as some of you, but he's just right a couple times. I mean, basically.
Facebook,
hard.
Tesla
Is the story.
swung
Peloton.
very, very hard.
Yeah, that's it. He just swung really hard. He saw a fat pitch that was incredible intuition. And you would definitely, I can guarantee you, he didn't sit down and have some sort of like Kelly Criterion.
No.
I can guarantee you that. So he's a billionaire. So just saying. Maybe
lot of
just anecdotal, but
Being a billionaire is it's like a 5-team parlay.
well, let's get
hard.
into something juicy.
It's hard.
All right, where do you want to go next?
I want Steven to break this down.
Okay.
I threw this in the Trello to just lob a hand grenade into everything because
Hold on, let me know when you want me to switch over.
Yeah,
'cause I
go
think
for it.
you're introducing it, right? Still.
yeah. So we were talking last week about why allegedly right-wing men might be more attractive to women, allegedly, and then that kind of led into a discussion about like why is one party sort of like more masculine than the other party, which I think is like objectively the case, but people might disagree with me on that. Now this is like a snippet of a post from 4chan, which I think embellishes on this. So like I remind everybody, this is from 4chan, so it starts like kind of like interesting and then becomes like racist / misogynistic at the end. But I like to focus on the beginning of it because I think it's an interesting idea. But yeah, this particular post says people who can't defend themselves physically, parentheses, women and low T men, parse information through a consensus filter as a safety mechanism. They literally do not ask, is this true? They ask, will others be okay with me thinking that this is true? This makes them very malleable to brute force manufactured consensus. If every screen they look at says the same thing, they will adopt that position because their brain interprets it as everyone in the tribe believing it. Only high T alpha males and neurotypical people, high autists, are actually free to parse new information with an objective, is this true filter. And I will skip over the last part because I don't really disagree with it. But I think the beginning part is like an interesting theory.
I mean, couldn't you replace like just high T and being able to defend yourself with just a high degree of self-worth or
The high T thing is like a bit of a
like
Meme.
just
It's
confidence?
like a silly
kinda-
label.
Yeah, it's a silly like kind of internet forum meme thing.
My first thought on this is that there's definitely some truth to the idea that we've become tribal. We've adapted to become more tribal because I think human beings' survivability chances improve with like being accepted into a larger group. If you're like an outcast on your own, it's a lower survival chance. So I think like people have learned to like kind of blend in and not be outcasted.
And you can see that play out, right? People who are counterculture typically get attacked frequently, often by a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't a lot of this just about like how libertarian you are and how autonomous you are in your individual sort of like assessment of ideas?
I mean, that's a good example, though, because, like, I think the distribution of Libertarian Party is, like, skews heavily male.
Definitely.
Like, very heavily.
And like more of that, whatever you want to call it, traditional masculine male.
And, like, we've quoted some recent stats that are, like, crazy, where it's just, it's like 2-to-1 women in the Democratic Party now.
Like, I don't think of a libertarian-minded person when I think of someone who's like, oh, I believe in what the consensus tells me to believe.
Right.
That's
You
definitely
are
not.
very... They're so non-consensus that they can't even form a party
Yeah.
because they're just all
Yeah.
think everybody in the party is like an idiot to everybody in the party.
Right. I mean, if you do want a really robust democratic system filled with a bunch of strong ideas in a battle of ideas to see what wins and what is best, then yeah, like a libertarian approach is healthy as long as people can like acknowledge differences and are objective in their pursuit of what's the best idea. I think that can be very good.
Haven't you
But-
guys read Fountainhead? Because Hookham says that quote just looks like a book synopsis of Ayn Rand's Fountainhead.
Makes
but
sense.
Heard it's great.
Checks out. I haven't read The Fountainhead, so I'm not going to claim to have read it.
No, I've only read the big fatty.
Yaniv
book.
says it's his favorite book ever.
Really?
Yeah.
That
Is it
makes
a-
sense because I feel like Yaniv is this quote.
He's like, it's the greatest book of all time.
Is that a sequel to?
I don't
John
think it's
Galt,
a sequel.
or-
I think it's just a
I
second
think
book.
they're standalone, yeah. Any Randians out there can tell us.
I
but-
mean, I vibe with this quote. Like it resonates as true to me. It feels like a thing that like I intuitively know to be true, and it's not true 100% of the time, right? But it's like a thing that if I were to use as a guide, but like I would bet that if we all sat here and you threw like 100 people in the room randomly and you kind of talked to them and got a vibe for them, you would be able to predict without asking them a single question about politics whether they were left or right. Like with a very high
but
degree
these
of
days
accuracy.
it's becoming a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. Like crazy accurate.
They do this where there's like these interviewer types that just go around and like talk to people on the street, and they'll like show pictures and be like, "Do you think this is a lefty or a righty?" And just based on like aesthetics, like people nail it like
Pretty
most
accurate.
of the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like super accurate, and but I think it sums up kind of what the political parties are. So it kind of makes sense. Like one party is sort of more for individual autonomy. With individual autonomy becomes like an isolation from the herd and a need for more self-reliance and this sort of thing. And then the other party is sort of like, no, we can do more things collectively, and the group can keep you safe, and the government can keep you safe, and so that's like attractive for particular people. And it's just like filtering down literally into people's like actual physiognomy at this point. It's
I think I'd be really
it's
bad
kinda-
at it.
it's
I was
kinda
just
wild.
thinking about what you're saying. I think I'd be really awful at determining, because I like
Really?
in my experience, like
Why?
it's not so obvious that everybody's on the extremes. Most people that I know are like somewhere in like this moderate
just gonna
middle.
say the same
And it's
thing.
like I know people that look just like quote unquote like normal people. I would never be able to determine what their
Yeah, like
affiliation is.
I think sometimes our minds have skewed to this idea that like people are very radical left or right, but isn't the majority of the country independent?
Some moderate form of
Yeah,
left or
like
right.
40
Even.
The
percent.
plurality is yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
So-
know.
It's a different
It's
a different
hard.
problem.
Yeah,
Anyway,
for sure.
food for thought.
All right, what else we got up next? I
Well-
see some ones I hadn't recognized. So Armand, you want to take these guys?
Yeah, so like I just I think this, tell me if this is gaslighting, but like the Associated Press goes, hey, illegal voting by non-citizens is rare, but Republicans are making it a major issue this election. So this guy's tweet is, step one, no, it's not really happening. Step two, yeah, I mean, it's happening, but it's not a big deal. Step three, it's a good thing, actually. Step four, the people freaking out about it are the real problem. And I just think it's so interesting how first it just started with like this, that doesn't happen. And that was like the article you saw everywhere throughout the mainstream media is like, this is a lie. It doesn't happen. It never happens. This is a complete made up, another Republican sort of made up hoax. And now look where we are. Associated Press. It's rare. And by the way, they're making it a big deal. This shouldn't be a big deal. Why is it a big deal that illegal citizens are, that non-citizens are voting illegally? Illegal voting, not a big deal.
Yeah, why do you care?
Why do you care
Why
about
do you
that?
care, man?
Just accept it.
What
It
are
just
the-
happens. It happens.
What are the stats? Do we have any idea of like what it is? Nobody's measuring this.
I don't know if
guess,
you
like,
can
you can't
measure it. Yeah,
That's the point. Is that it's this like
I
shadow
mean, you need
thing.
an ID to do everything in this world. And the fact that you don't need one to vote is remarkable.
I agree.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Is this even true? Like, can I go to my polling place
Yes.
and just like go?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course you
With-
could drop off your
Well,
ballot.
Oh, so you get your mail-in ballot or whatever,
And just drop it off.
just drop it off.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's kind of wild.
the
wild.
explanations that I hear from people sound racist to me.
they are.
Like
They're super racist.
it is. I mean, just not. I mean, no nuance, no messy gray. Just I hear the reasons why they're like, well, black people.
Did you guys see the video I posted in Discord?
Oh,
Yeah.
did you?
Where the guy goes around in the Bronx talking to black people and asking them about this?
But do you have an ID? Or
No,
what?
just goes up like, hey, man, you carry ID? Yeah, what? Like, what do you mean? It's like, it's the only thing I carry. It's like the most important thing to carry. And everyone, like 7 people in a row, he interviews like these people, and they all go like, of course I carry ID, dude. Like, what do you mean? and then he goes like, do you know where the DMV is? Yeah, it's on 59th and First. It's around the corner. Do you know how to get to the DMV? And they're just like, dude, are you trolling me? Like, why are you being offensive? He's like, no, I promise, I'm getting to the point. He's like, do you know how to get to the DMV? He's like, yeah, dude, I can get to the DMV. Do you have a cell phone with the internet? And they're just like, come on, like, yes, I have the internet. Yes, I can look up where to go. I know how to get there. I know where the information. I know how to access information. Like a kid's like, of course, I mean, everybody has the internet. Come on, dude. It's like, then it's like, do you find it offensive that there are people that believe that it's difficult for you to vote for that reason, that you don't have ID, that we're protecting you in that way? And it's just like, yeah, that's crazy. They went. It was so interesting. All the people that he spoke to were really eloquent about it. They were like, that's just really ignorant. That's extremely ignorant of you to think that about my people, that we just like can't figure this out. We don't carry ID. We don't know how to vote. And so you need to create a policy that protects me. You're not me. You're not my people. Like we're fine. So it was really, really interesting.
I find that one pretty
But
frustrating.
It's
to
racist
hear.
to project that onto an entire group of people as if they're just like incapable.
Yeah, it is like it's like when
It's a really good video.
paternalism
I posted it.
kind of just starts becoming like kind of racist.
Well, haven't you seen? There's this other meme. It's like, you know, the kind of like purple-haired girl saying to the, you know, say like the black girl or something, like, you're oppressed, and the girl being like, oh, no, she says like, do you think you're oppressed? And she's like, no, I'm okay, like I'm fine. And she's like, no, but, and like tries to explain like why you are oppressed, and it's like, what, like. Why are you trying to convince me that I'm oppressed?
Yeah, why are you telling me about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine telling that
That's
to an
a good
adult.
plan.
Now imagine telling that to like a impressionable 9-year-old. You know, you're oppressed. It's
I
like,
mean,
Yeah,
what does
it's
that do
my
for the-
life mission to make sure you're not oppressed. It's like, what? I don't need your help. I think people just want to be treated equally. That's it. People just want to be like, drop the skin color. That's it. That's like, the answer to this is color blindness. You know, Coleman did an incredible TED talk on this that they apparently like
Coleman
removed.
Hughes.
Yeah, Coleman Hughes.
Wait, they removed it? They eventually did remove
Yeah,
it?
dude, he did this whole breakdown of how
they
they
put it
removed it, or I don't know if they put it back, but they like banned it or shadow banned it or whatever, and he got like all this hate for it, and it was called, I believe, a case for colorblindness, and he just like extremely intellectually, simply, logically lays out an argument for this, and it was so controversial. And it's like, if you just drop the topic, we can start to begin equality the way that you want. Even maybe not equality of outcome, but things will distribute themselves accordingly by merit as they should, based on what people even want, if you just drop this forced action and stop labeling my people or this other people as needing some sort of special treatment. Just let us be. Let the world be, and it will work itself out. I mean, I remember a time in like growing up when I felt like it was like that. I did feel like you had your Russian friend, you had your Jewish friend, you had your black friend, you had your Vietnamese friend, and your white friend, and everyone just kind of felt, especially in Sacramento, everyone just kind of felt the same. And there were racist jokes, but they were racist in like an acknowledgement way, not like a you're less than me way. Like, we're actually the same, but you're just, you know, soy sauce. and you're whatever. And it was just like, I mean, didn't you feel that? Like,
Yeah,
that wasn't meant in a derogatory
there's like
way.
it's like endearing.
When friends say that
it's
to you.
like it's like a way of being just playful with your buddies. you know,
Yeah.
like-
Acknowledgement of your like natural born differences.
Right.
Your nose is different than mine.
Yeah.
And that's
We're
why-
funnier in different ways.
And that's why I don't like the term blindness, color blindness, because it's not about blindness. Like, we acknowledge the differences. It's like the same way you like would
I've thought about this. Yeah.
see
What is a
somebody's
better
different
way?
height or something. Like, you acknowledge that, but you just don't look differently upon somebody in a value sense.
It's
because
an
of the
acceptance.
yeah, it's accepting.
It's a color acceptance, but not one where I need to represent you or fight for justice for some sort of injustice that I think is perceived. You know,
Yeah, I agree. Colorblind thing's pretty cringe.
the phrase.
Just the and the idea of it. Just like, I just want you to know, I do not see you as a black man.
Well,
me,
Coleman is arguing
you are-
for color blindness. That's what he's arguing for.
But he doesn't.
I think what he means is
He
what
doesn't
Eric
literally
is saying.
mean that.
Right. He's arguing for what we're talking about, but because we've arrived at the opposite. Like we're the opposite of colorblind right now, where color is the primary topic of every situation. You know, it's like this is a female owned, this is a black owned business, this is a it's like at the front of everything.
Why do you think that is?
Well, that's the social sort of like pendulum that has been swinging for the last 10 years. It's just this like crazy sort of like polarity that we're seeing in society. I mean, we've talked about that at many reasons why we think we've arrived at that. I don't know. Why do you think?
Divide and conquer.
I mean,
And that's it.
Political incentives. All right.
I mean, but yeah, that was a good quote. This quote that you put up was this is like literally inflation to me. To wrap it up, I guess, to bring it home. Like you saw this with the inflation headlines because it was like in real time was step 1. There's no inflation. What are you talking about? And it was like so bad. And then people were like, all right, a little bit of inflation.
It's
but
transitory.
It's transitory. It's not that big a deal. And then they literally came out with like, there was literally a New York Times headline that like went viral. It's just like, yes, inflation is high. And here's why that's a good thing. This is like the formula they use where they like, they put out something that is like terrible. And then they go, and here's why you're dumb for thinking that this is bad.
So this is the framework that Gandhi talked about. It's like when you have this different idea, it's like first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And they did. And by the way, like, you know, again, not a Trump fan, but that's definitely what they did with Trump. It was just like, oh yeah, well, ignore this guy. You know, Orange Man is trying to run for president, and they laughed at him constantly. Then then it resulted in like, holy shit, this guy's a real threat.
Yeah.
Got to fight him. And then he won in 2020. So, yeah, this is the formula. It's a human behavior process that people go through when there's a new idea in general.
All right, what else you got? I see there's talk of overthrowing the Constitution and
You're
what
ready to
personas.
go. All right.
We're past
Let's
6. Let's bring it home.
This was interesting.
Oh,
So the
there
New
it
York
is.
Times
New York Times.
is perpetuating an idea. This is not a new idea, but it's one that's becoming even more popular now. The Constitution is sacred. Is it dangerous?
Is it also dangerous?
Is it also dangerous? One of the biggest threats to America's politics might be the country's founding document. So the question by the New York Times is literally, this entire country stands on this document. Should we get rid of it? Does it need to be changed? Does it need to be thrown out? And that's really, I would say, one of the central motifs of the Democrat Party is looking at this and wanting to essentially eliminate it. Now, Republicans and the right view this as like the greatest existential threat ever. Like the fact that this is being questioned to them is unbelievable. It's just like, this is worth civil war to fight over. People get really riled up about this. Now, the left and Democrats have this different perspective on it, which I can understand. This is old, this is outdated, this is racist. There's things in here that were written so long ago that are no longer relevant. We need to evolve. This is the party of progressives and evolution. Old, outdated ideas should be discarded. We should not stand on a document that is not relevant with the times. I can actually completely understand that argument, and it's quite logical. But what you're asking for, and this is the question, is you're asking for a revolution.
Yeah.
You're asking for an entire new government. If you were to remove this document or to,
Amend it even.
In serious ways, especially when you have propaganda like this by one of the former leading outlets of the country, this is serious level of...
Okay, hold up. Did anybody read this article?
I didn't.
Because
Yeah.
I did
It's
not.
the first time seeing
So I was like, can somebody steel man this case?
Yeah, I did. It make it difficult because I'm definitely not going to subscribe to them. So then you got to get past their.
I mean, the Steel
Payment
Man
date.
is pretty easy, dude. Like this is just.
What is
it's-
a steel man?
I mean, I think I just gave the
You
Steel
just
Man.
gave it. I mean, but I'll summarize. I'll make it more concise. It's progressive versus conservative.
Right,
Progressive.
but that's not a good steel man. They're just people are just like
No, progressive
progress
just want to.
is good.
No, they want to like take the old ideas and continue iterating on
But
them.
why are these ideas bad?
Because they were written, I'm air quoting, they were written by slave owners.
That can't be the.
That is one of the
reason, though.
central
No,
arguments.
hold on.
and
The idea
things.
is that they were written in hundreds of years ago, and do they still apply to today's modern world? That's like the,
Yeah,
the real.
that's-
Like, why do they think it's dangerous? Why is it dangerous to the country? Do you know?
The dangerous part?
Yeah, what is the dangerous part? Why is the Constitution dangerous?
I mean, here's one way. Right to bear arms causes deaths all the time. That's fucking dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, does it?
Yes.
I don't know.
Fucking obviously.
I don't think it's fucking obvious, right? Because this is like it's sort of like it's like an options position. It's like, yes, you are bleeding every single year in your portfolio, right? But like if that option contract saves you from blowing up the entire portfolio, like maybe it's actually negative plus EV. Like how many people die when one of these countries just like fails and then
Dude,
goes to, right?
You know my position on this. I agree with
Yeah.
you, but I'm like, you're asking why would they use the word dangerous? It's for the fucking danger.
Is it always like it feels like it's always like a gun thing? Like does it always come down to the guns, or is there like something else in there that people don't like? You know, I don't know.
I think it's dangerous because it's rooted in the past and it holds us back. And the idea is that progressives believe in constant iterative evolution of ideas, and that means it's like, I mean, we've talked about this before, but to me, it's like Ethereum versus Bitcoin. There's an idea that just keep fucking with it and it'll get better. And then there's this idea that like don't touch it, even though they did over the last year and started to try to become more like the progressive
Stop,
thing.
don't.
With
Stop it.
I know. Okay.
Stop. Silence.
What?
It was a good analogy. You just leave it there.
Yeah, no, we can't go down that road.
Okay. Oh. I can't read you sometimes. All right. So yeah, then it's like leave it, don't touch it, and that is going to serve as a more strengthened approach to a better future. So the future is better when you rely on like strong foundational principles and rules versus one in which you constantly iterate. That's the ethos of both parties.
I feel like progressivism does not get enough flack for how fucking shitty some of the ideas it's had have been over the last couple of centuries.
Well, I can't believe how progressive I used to be. It blows me away. Eric Weinstein posted something. He was like, I typed this into ChatGPT, and he basically described like a progressive ideology of what we see today. And it says, and the question he asks ChatGPT is like, which political parties or types of movements does this most correspond to? And it said like authoritarian regimes, communist regimes, and progressive movements. But there's a bit of like a nuance there in the progressive movement one. But I can't believe how much I wanted to just like give power to the state, to the government, believing that they know what's best for me. That's the biggest like unlock that a lot of people have had, I think, over the last decade, is that it doesn't get better when you offload the responsibilities for these things to the government.
It's a branding issue, right? Like when people are like, do you want progress or do you want to like conserve shit? Like it feels like you're playing like prevent defense, you know? Doesn't feel good, right? But some of the progress is bad. Like in the early 1900s, like they thought progress was like eugenics, right? That was like a huge thing. They're like, no, we could, but it's always the same theme. It's just like, oh, hey, we're really smart, so we can just get together and put our fingers on the scale. And in this instance, if we could just have these like inferior people stop having babies, like society would be so good. So let's just like pass some laws to.
So can I ask
to
a
do
deeper
that.
question? Because we're skirting around it a bit. What is the right approach to a society that needs to continue to evolve, that balances both of these. You need some sort of bedrock, a foundation of principles, but you also need to continue to evolve and grow and progress. So how do you balance those
You
two?
need the ability for healthy debate in society, which is like why the main gripe I have with like the current political system isn't that like I disagree with the left or I disagree with the right. It's that like one party has like a sort of stranglehold on the dialogue and is trying to snuff out the other side completely. And I would feel equally as bad if it was happening from the other direction, because I think like a uniparty system is terrible. Like, if either one of these people like got all of the levers of power, bad things would happen. Like, on one hand, you would get like religious fundamentalism, and that would be fucking terrible. But on the other hand, you get like the modern equivalent of like eugenics, and that's also bad. Like, both of these things are bad, right? So it's important to, which is why the Constitution is good. Like, having this framework to have all of this stuff kind of exist and to be able to have these debates. It's also why we talk about free speech and like the ability for people to like take in ideas without screaming and crying and like hiding in a room. Like, that's like very important. Like, we need debate. Like, we need the Socratic method.
Well, earlier you asked like what's dangerous about the Constitution. I think a lot of people think free speech is dangerous. That's like one of the biggest topics right now.
But these people think free speech is dangerous because like the ability of somebody to speak out against them is like a barrier against them being able to just like unilaterally impose
Didn't
their will.
you see
on people.
Kamala's like clip about Elon?
Like banning Elon? Yeah.
like Elon, she would immediately shut down.
I know. That's why it's like hilarious to me when people are like, "Oh, Trump's an authoritarian." It's just like one side is literally trying to jail people, like ban entire speech platforms. Like, it's like, come on. Like,
and
this
she
is not
said,
like
she's like, it's extremely dangerous.
yeah, yeah. That's what that's what the shtick is always like. Oh, these ideas are dangerous, so we're gonna protect you by banning them.
Right.
Oh, this thing is dangerous, so the government is gonna come in and like protect you from it by forcing you to do this other thing. It's like the
So
same
it's Amendment
thing.
1 and 2. Free
It's the
speech
same.
and right to bear arms are the most
Yeah,
dangerous parts of the
it's just like-
Constitution. So that's not, to me, that's not just like wanting to amend and add something to progress. Like, if I'm approaching it from like a radically moderate perspective, I want to balance like the Constitution with the need to progress, right? And that means you might have to have some additional amendments here and there throughout time. But it doesn't mean you should necessarily take the foundational aspect of things away and just question it at all. I mean, Nick, you think about this stuff a lot. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think our system works. Like, you have imagine an anchor, and a string tied to it with a balloon on top, right? Like, the anchor is the Constitution, and how the balloon, like, sways left to right is our laws, right? And those laws are ability to, like, adapt and iterate. And there's also statutes between, executive branches that do it. And then you also have this federalism where states can decide their own laws. Like, I think it works. The issue is that, our older generation, the significant portion of the majority, gets their news and what they think about things from mainstream media. So, that's the part where maybe there's not so much this healthy debate of issues.
Yeah.
It's one-sided. But I think the system itself works. It doesn't need to be you don't need to like strip it down to the studs or redo the foundation.
It's a shockingly good system considering that it was just like written down on a couple of pieces of paper like 300 years
Also,
ago.
you don't have like another model to like say, well, this is clearly better. Like you could easily argue the parliamentary model is not better.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want like a non-republic democratic where you have kings and queens and it's just a bunch of nepo babies like taking over? No. You could argue dictatorship if the guy is benevolent is good, but that doesn't really happen.
mm-hmm.
So we don't really have other models to, if you benchmark them all, I think we're still the best.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. There was this really great clip, and I've heard the whole interview is pretty solid, of Russell Crowe on Rogan. There's this really great clip where he was like, I just want Americans to understand what they represent and what this, I think he said what this election really represents, but what America represents. It's like a beacon of hope, a beacon of prosperity for the world. And everything America does provides hope for the rest of the world of what can be, what the world could look like for them. We are it's stupid to. I don't like when people say America's number one, America's the best. No, what we are is a beacon of what a prosperous nation can look like, made up of a melting pot of cultures where everyone is working hard to create a better life for each other, where there's freedom of speech and freedom to ascend the ladder of prosperity. You can be in America. The promise of America is so simple. You can be anyone from anywhere and you can make it. In most societies around the world, that is absolutely not true. You can't just show up and ascend the ladder. Building a business, creating a name for yourself, becoming famous, whatever it is you want to do, is very difficult to do in many places. But in America, there's a dream. And the dream is that you can show up here and you can make it. And America doesn't have a problem with immigration when it's done properly. The entire country was founded on immigrants. So I think this idea that like it's anti-immigrant in any way, neither party is anti-immigrant, neither one. It's just what it represents is actually incredibly beautiful. So to taint that, pun intended, no pun intended, maybe, or change that, I just dropped taint in the Discord today, so I had to drop that, is quite, it's crazy to question that. I just think we sleep on that, especially as Americans. We don't understand what we represent to the rest of the world. It's so important to maintain that. And the fact that it's been so volatile and angry here lately. There's so much anger and fear in society. Why? It all starts with America. All of it. Whatever's happening in America tends to just seep out into the rest of the world. And we have to take that responsibility more seriously, I think.
I agree with all that. And I keep thinking about this. I don't know. This keeps like recurring in my head. I agree with all that. But it's not those things that make America special. Like what actually makes us special is this thing that no one has anything to do with. I still think it is our actual geography. And it sounds so stupid, but like the reason we have like stable, relations with other countries, the reason we have like a military that could defend itself and even defend beyond itself, the reason we have like the self-reliance is just come down to our geography. And I don't know what it means.
Try this on.
Counterpoint.
Yeah,
Counterpoint is
give me
what-
Argentina.
Try
Okay.
this on, though. Like,
Okay.
if we had a different constitution,
Yeah.
a different system, would it still be as prosperous given the geography and everything
No.
else?
Potentially
I don't think
no.
so at all.
Because Argentina.
I don't think so at all.
Argentina has
If
like
we were
number 2
socialist,
geography
communist,
in the world.
Socialist,
Like
or
America
if we were a
won,
monarchy.
Argentina too.
I think it's the Constitution. I think it's not just the Constitution. It's the ideology of America. The anyone can come here and make it ideology.
Yeah, because I keep thinking like, were we just blessed with this geography and
We
like
were.
you put a bunch of people, same different group of
helped.
people there and with the same thing like react, but Argentina and
helped.
both of your points kind of help square it.
You're not wrong at all. That helps.
Yeah.
That helped maintain the prosperity. But the prosperity had to be founded on an ideology that was beneficial to all to make people want to come here. That's why people come to America,
Can we
to make it.
can we talk about making it and founders?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So I want to talk
Transition.
about founder mode a little bit. So I'll introduce it, then maybe we'll play the video afterwards. That
Sure.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So Paul Graham, he's of YC lineage, investor, kind of a startup Sherpa, if you will. He made a post he titled Founder Mode. It went quite viral, at least within startup communities and entrepreneurs on Twitter. And it was one of those ones when you read it, you knew exactly like it was gonna spread. And basically he talks about this talk that Brian Chesky gave. He's one of the founders of Airbnb, and he gave it to some YC founders, and it was a private talk, so that talk is not, you can't watch it. And he got feedback that it was the best talk they've ever heard at YC. People who continually see these talks said they just put down their notebook, didn't even take notes. They were just like in awe of this talk. And essentially the theme of the talk was there's conventional wisdom given to how to run particularly large companies, and that conventional wisdom is not necessarily right. And he says there's a founder mode and maybe like we'll call it like a manager mode. And a lot of the people who listened were were kind of confused. Like, why have I been getting this advice? And you could characterize the advice given by investors and other institutions that you should hire, smart people in executive positions and let them do their thing, right? Like you delegate, you kind of disengage from the details of the day-to-day, and you hire smart people, let them do their thing. And Airbnb had like this like wild moment in 2020. COVID severely impacted the business, and Brian Chesky found himself getting back into quote unquote founder mode, getting into the details, reorging the company, and he still continues to run it this day in the same style. And they've had incredible success, amazing free cash flow, and it is a stark contrast from what you hear of conventional wisdom, which is you have these like functions and leaders to lead those functions. And I imagine most Fortune 500 companies are run that way. And I found it particularly interesting because like I've been in all three portions. I've been the hired CEO. I've, as the founder, hired a CEO to run a company that I founded. And then I've been the founder themselves. So why don't we play this? Can we play Brian Chesky's clip? Can you pull it up, Armand?
Yeah. Can I just say something about this
Yeah,
really quick?
please.
So funny. How much freaking clout do you have if you literally just post to Twitter?
Oh my God, I was thinking
founder
the same
mode
thing.
link.
Yeah.
No preview.
Thinking
No
the
nothing.
exact same
Should we-
thing.
should we check?
21 million views.
Jesus.
Can I just show you what the blog looks like? If you've never been on paulgraham.com,
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah,
curve
this
this
website.
is his blog. This is what it looks like.
And the same
By the way,
since-
I have spent more time on this blog than any other blog on the internet. Maybe the second closest would be like
Really?
Wait But Why. Oh my
He
god.
writes
Really?
prolific.
This is the founder Bible. PaulGraham.com is the founder Bible.
I had
He
no
writes
idea.
timeless posts
Oh,
for sure.
I still read his post from 15 years ago, and it's like gold.
I didn't even know this guy was that legit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
within like
Is he the same guy who made that post about crypto, or it was just like a source?
Yeah.
who-
It's all
I
gonna go
don't
to
know.
shit and like.
yes, that is him.
If I were you, I'd be concerned.
And that's probably what
at the
most
Pico
people
bottom.
in
Yeah.
crypto know about him.
That's
But
like all
like
I can think of him.
this
as
guy
now.
carries some significant weight. He's got the accomplishments
No,
to
PG,
to back it up.
PG's goaded. I don't know about that crypto stuff. But
So
PG's goated.
within 2 hours there were
Yeah.
memes about it. Within 4 hours there's merch being sold. Founder mode.
But
So
just the fact that you can just post that and have that much like
Dude, it's just a
Pull.
link and it gets 21 million.
all right.
That's
So
that's how prolific
so
he is.
let's enlarge the video and play it and let
Okay.
everyone hear Brian Chesky's
Imagine
take
we
on
got
what.
up the mountain,
All right.
and then somebody was dropped from a helicopter, having never walked up the mountain, and you tell them, okay, now you lead this group up the next mountain. Can you imagine how hard it'd be for that person to drop from the sky? Or maybe they joined a third of the way up the mountain, but they weren't there at the very beginning. You see, a founder brings three things that a professional manager doesn't have. The first thing a founder has is they're the biological parent. So you can love something, but when you're the biological parent of something, like it came from you, it is you. There's a deep passion and love. The second thing a founder has is they have the permission, right? Like I can't tell another child what to do, but if they were my child, I probably could. I have the permission. And so you have a permission. I could rebrand the company, and a professional manager would probably come and say, I can't do that. But I know how we named it. I know how we branded it. So you know what you can change. And the third thing that a founder brings is you built it, so you know how to rebuild it. You know the freezing temperature of a company. You know at what temperature it melts. You know like what this looked like before it was tooled, where it came from, the alloys, where they were sourced from. You're not just managing it, you're building it. And the problem is professional managers typically don't have any of those three, at least not in the abundance of founders.
Oh,
That was so sick.
I love that third point the most.
And I feel every part of that from every role,
Right.
from the person who got hired to the person who hired to just the founder. It is true.
Yeah, he nailed it.
Like
The one that stood out to me was the second one because I think I see 1 and 3 most often, but the second one is he called it permission. It's like, no, this was my child. I can raise my child how I want to.
versus,
Versus
someone else's
somebody
child.
parent.
Can you
can't.
hit them? No.
Right. That's crazy.
Can you change
They're
their
all-
name?
They're all really impactful. Yeah.
So anyway, that was the best, most succinct way of I think describing what it means.
Yeah. I mean, so there's so much going on here. So I think the reason this went so viral is because founders felt seen. It's most important. It's also one of those where it attacked managers and investors. So it was very controversial. This post was very controversial. A lot of people felt seen. A lot of people felt attacked. And it was one of those things where it was just like, I forget the phrase maybe that you've brought up before, Stephen, for stuff like this. It was almost like Trumpism, where it's like, it's kind of right, it's kind of wrong, it's kind of up for interpretation. It kind of leaves everyone to like try to figure out what's really going on with the statement. Because it was the most open-ended essay, and it was one of the shortest essays ever from Paul Graham. Usually his essays are like a book. And this was just like, look, this is like the first we're talking about this. This is a new concept. We don't really have a lot to say about it, but we know it's true. Like, we know that this is like a strong reaction from founders that this is true. That every time they have been told by their investors or by people that are well-meaning that they need to hire great people and get out of the way and follow the system, shit falls apart, and then they have to fix it themselves and get back in the trenches, and it's all on them. And so it gave this power to founders. Now it's all, the whole thing has become a meme because it's just like, yeah, hey, John, I rented a yacht for the weekend. I hired 50 models, and we got a hot air balloon with the company logo on it. Why'd you do that, Bill? Founder mode, John.
yeah.
Oh.
I saw another one. Was like, pretty sure
Get back
founder
to it,
founder
you know.
mode is just cocaine.
Sorry.
Using cocaine.
So it gives like this like free reign to kind of like do what you want. You know best. You're the founder. That's like the fun part of it. I don't think that's like really what's being talked about. That's not
But
really the
there
point here.
there are details to this. So people say, well, I don't want to micromanage. Like, as a founder, I don't want to micromanage everyone that's doing their job, but you can still not micromanage, but know the details of what they're working on. So for example, we have 7 or 8 media buyers that are all running ads at any given time. And I remember in an interview asking someone, was like, how intense is this? I was like, well, when you walk in the morning, I already know what your campaigns are like that morning because I've looked at them. And I'm not telling you what to do this morning and the rest of the day and tomorrow, but I already know if your campaigns are looking profitable or looking like shit, or you haven't tested anything this morning, or there's a budget you should have increased, or a campaign you should have paused. And I think that's like an important distinction that I don't add on to what Brian said, which is you're in the details of it, and you think as you grow that you should. There's this like just this wisdom that you think you should follow. That as you grow, you should be less in the
you're
details.
supposed to extract yourself from the CEO role.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Or really, when you're the CEO and you're the founder, you're the COO, you're the CEO, you're the people, you're probably HR, you're all of these roles, and you're trying to work yourself toward extracting yourself toward just CEO. Once you extract yourself from CEO, you're trying to be president, you're trying to be chairman, you're trying to be founder, and each of those are different roles. There was a great episode with Francis Pedraza, a great founder who used to run as CEO Invisible, and he talks about this process of extracting yourself. And he brought in an operator, he brought in a manager, and now they've been growing. And there's so many versions of this where it goes well, or either the company outgrows you, or you outgrow it, and you eventually have to step aside as the founder and bring in a manager to take on manager mode. But I think in wartime, it's difficult to have the manager as well.
I mean, that is the ultimate one, when his third point about you're great at managing it because you know how to rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah.
So I'll hit on the point where I hired a CEO. CEO was he's amazing. Like, he's a legit, like, he can right the ship, manage the ship. But when it came to like a wartime situation, he was managing off the P&L operating profit. And I'm like, this might be the time we actually manage from the cash flow statement and just like get down to like, is more cash coming in that is going out? And for someone in that position who's used to managing larger companies, they're just like, what do you mean? Like, we'll get the cash if we need it. We'll borrow money. We'll put more money in, and we'll just focus on these growth initiatives that we had. And I won't really, who cares about the cash flow statement? But when you've built it from scratch and you've gone through that point where all you care about is like, week in, week out. Is there more cash coming in that's going out? You know how to rebuild it. And so I experienced that when I hired someone. And there's also these things that happen when you're the hired person. So like, even though you got hired as CEO, this person who's supposed to like take this company and grow it, there's still this like inner circle founder lore that like you don't really get clued into. So I got hired at a relatively young age to like manage a company that was, you know, on like a $80 million P&L. And I helped grow it. So I knew something about the company. But I remember this one time I'm sitting with one of our like database analysts and we're going through some data, and one of the founders is in the room, and I'm like, have you noticed this chart? Like the users using the product is like, they're not really using the product, but we're still monetizing the hell out of them. I was like, you're kind of just showing them ads and they're not actually using the product. And he's like, yeah, that's a problem. That's like a business model issue. We gotta really dive into that. And like the meeting kind of ended and nothing else happened of it. But like in the inner lore of like the founder lore, it was like, yeah, no shit. That's how we make money. And that's how we put money in our pocket. The customer doesn't necessarily have to use the product more. We're just going to monetize the hell out of them. But, and he didn't, if he would have told me that, it would have been like, oh, okay, not ideal, but like I get the game plan that we have going on. But he didn't want to because his equity piece was massive. And he paid me a really large salary and a really large bonus. But like he was probably thinking, CEO probably doesn't make as much money. So like I don't really want to tell him that. He might get demotivated that this like story we're telling is not perfect. And I don't know, I found that there's this like still this inner founder thing that doesn't get really communicated to those people.
I have a question for you guys. From my understanding now that you introduced the subject to me, I feel like this is a good descriptive terminology of describing like what a founder's role is versus a manager's role. But it didn't really assign, at least from what I gathered, it didn't really assign value to these terms. Like, do you find that, or at least do you feel like having a founder in an operating role is beneficial? And I'm asking as like a guy who analyzes businesses, and sometimes you see businesses where like an Elon Musk is still kind of operating as a founder and operator. You see a Bezos who has stepped aside. I'm looking at a Jack Dorsey with Square who's like stepped aside and come back. Like, do you assign value to the founder, or do you not?
No, that's why
really...
I think the whole founder mode thing's kind of funny. Like, it's an interesting pontification around just like something that founders are experiencing, and it helped them feel seen, and it helped investors realize like, hey, just don't go and push this thing so hard on founders because you're not always right. Okay, just because you have the MBA, sometimes the founder knows what he's doing. That was I think that's the big takeaway. But like if you were to really look at the data, I mean, look at Satya. Look at like all great manager. Like there are so many companies that have grown as a result of bringing in the manager, CEO. So I think it goes both ways. Founders burn companies to the ground, you know?
But they have the right to, right? Like
yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg has the right
Yeah.
to burn the company to the ground to win, I don't know, this is hypothetical, but like to win AI. Like,
Yeah.
He's the only one that could do it.
But I would like to see that. I would like to see like, founder-led companies, still managing versus like,
Like,
manager came in.
To what degree is Sergey
Pieced out.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, they've been gone for a long time.
But he's kind of like back in now.
Yeah, he's kind of back in because he's like,
he's not running the company though.
He's determining all that.
You don't want to decide on lawsuits and do all this, but like, it might be nice to have someone like, at least in a public company, you have someone who's like outward facing, like the president, and then you have someone internal facing, like the prime minister, of a country who's like running the domestic affairs.
Google's a wonderful example. Google brought in Eric Schmidt, and they went to the fucking moon.
Yeah.
And then now they brought in Pichai or was Sundar.
Pichai.
And it's like. He's doing okay. Meh. He's not. He doesn't lift weights. Levels says he needs to lift weights. Levels has. Have you seen that?
Levels.
Levels.io, the guy that he was on Lex. Yeah.
No fucking way.
He was on Lex last week.
So
No
Levels
way.
is a solopreneur
Solopreneur.
that's used a lot of AI tools to launch like product after product. Some of them make a couple thousand a month, some make $10,000 a month, some make more. And he's like this
Dude, I've been
example of
following
like
this guy
a
for
new
15 years.
route of
Yeah.
like
Oh, he's around like pre-AI.
Dude, this guy's like an OG internet marketer. He's just been on social media. He's just been building shit. He's a Dutch kind of like technical, guy. He just starts businesses. He's been around forever. He's a good follow.
But now he's just like
And then
turboing with AI.
Well, he builds AI led businesses. Like he builds now they're AI led, but he's software companies.
But he's solo.
Yeah.
Like solopreneur guy.
Yeah.
You guys ever met him at Ad Tech or
No,
whatever?
No.
He's more like the startup solopreneur type. Like he's starting little spin up ideas. I think he's got like over 100 businesses that he's launched. 90+% of them have failed. But like now, he even has it in his Twitter bio, like what revenue each of his successful ones do, And he just shares his story. And he was on Levels, like share it.
Is
he
that
was on
real? Like
Lex.
90% failure rate?
I think he's even more. Like, and he just openly shares it. He's like, oh, I got another idea. It's like an AI photo editor that like turns your image into a cookie, and then he'll just like
It's
launch
not about
it.
batting average, dude. It's about slugging percent.
He just closed down like AItherapy.com or therapist.com. He was like, it was good. It was making like a few grand a month, but I shut it down. It's not working. And then he'll move on to the next thing. But the point is though, like he very much is like that guy. Like he's
fascinating.
Yeah.
Levels.
I do often wonder if you take a founder who's built something from 0 to 100 million and you put him in charge of like a 80 or 100 million dollar company, would they be better than the guy who's managed like a 250 million dollar company to come in and do it? Would they ask the same? They would definitely ask different questions, I feel like, and they would want to know like how they want to know the history of like how did you get here? Like what went wrong? How did you fix that? And I wonder that about myself. Like if I got airdropped into another company, could I within like 60 days figure out like which way to go? And I don't know,
Yeah.
but
My it's not much of a hot take, but if I had to pick between the two, I would always pick the founder-led company that the founder has grown into the role, into building an enterprise company, a publicly traded company, over the one that's manager-led, and this is the reason why. You can learn if the founder is open to growing and learning to become the manager. He is now a holistic founder in the sense that he can learn all those various things, but he birthed it. He was there from day one. Versus the manager who might have that intelligence and experience on one half of the spectrum, but will never be able to learn the founder half of it ever. So you have this like, I don't know. It's kind of like even what you saw with like Sam Altman. I think the reason people stood by Sam Altman was like they didn't want to lose their founder. They didn't want to lose him. They were just like, he knows the baby. He grew the baby. He's been here since the beginning. We don't want some manager to come in. We want to go where Sam goes. That was powerful, actually, when you saw it happen.
yeah, like in terms of growing in the role, there's this old like I think it's like a GE thing, but Johnny Chan taught it to me. It's called a leadership pipeline, and at the very base level, you have like managing yourself. Right, and that's what most people do. They get performance through their own work, and you look at each level at like your work skills, your work values, and your time application. There, your work skills are like doing the job. Your work values are like getting performance to yourself, and your time application is doing the job. And then the next step is like managing others. Your work values are getting success through their performance, like you're trying to like lift them up. Your work skills, a little less on the actual task, more on like how to communicate and whatnot. And your time application obviously changes, and it keeps going up until you're managing a business, a function, a business, a portfolio of businesses. In that first transition is always the hardest.
That's
like,
the hardest one.
It's the biggest one. Like if you cannot get over getting success
Through others.
then that's where like the biggest fault is. It's like this crossing the chasm thing. It's the largest one to go over. It's where most people fail. It's why the most successful salespeople should never become sales managers. You don't promote your star salesperson to a sales manager. The guy's fucking good at selling. Just let him do the thing. instead of like just putting them on the elevator up to sales manager. And yeah, I think you're right. Like someone who could follow in that role.
I had a
is
follow-up
interesting.
question for you guys. It was like, you made me think when you asked about how you would like find the fat pitches. Like, I know how to find the fat pitches because I've done it for, millions of hours, and I can see them now. Do you guys find, like, you've done these reps as business managers and founders and owners? Can you like identify the great founders? Like right when you see them, you're just like, oh yeah, this
Ooh,
is a
find
killer
the
founder.
great founder.
Right, because like you've been there and you've done your 10,000 hours.
I don't know. You got to see him
plus.
in action. You need like maybe an hour and a half with them too, to like dive into the business, and if they know all the answers, like
Because I'm asking because it's always a bit of a black box as an investor when you have like a management team or a manager who's like running the show. It's an unknown variable that I can usually like not easily solve for.
I think so. Like one of the blessings I had early on in my career was doing consulting, management consulting. So like we'd go in, and part of the process of bringing on a new client was you do this needs assessment. And it wasn't just on this like one vertical. It was on like understanding the entire business. Not only a business, but what the entrepreneur themselves or the business owner themselves want to achieve from the business. And you got like 300, 400 reps of doing these like assessments of businesses. And you just got good at like narrowing down like what is the critical thing that like what is the lever to pull in this scenario. Sometimes it's not marketing, right? Like it's, sometimes very rarely it's not marketing. But anyway, when you're talking to those people and when you ask them those questions, like, do they just know the business off the top of their head? Do they have like a good instinct for what the levers to pull are? Is it time to go fast? Is it time to go slow? Is it time to refactor? Yeah, I think you would get a sense for it, but not because of being a founder, because of just seeing those reps, maybe.
Good one.
But it's also equally as hard to find good employees in like a couple hours interviews. It's tough. Say it's like a 50% hit rate.
Right. Yeah, you're sitting down interviewing them, and it's still hard to identify.
Still don't know. You might know within the first 2 weeks, though. And then I'd say we talked about earlier when we were just chatting, but like hiring executives, even lower hit rate, dude. Because I mean, they could have the resume and talk the talk and like tell you war story after war
Right, a
story.
bunch of big logos behind their resume or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah, and then they get in there, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You creating PowerPoint charts over there? Like,
I think
get in.
picking a great founder is easier for me than picking a great employee, actually. Takes a couple weeks to know with the employee, maybe a week. Within a week, you kind of know. You can just tell right away, are they a day one doer or not? But with founders, I really like investing. I don't do it much, but like, and it's just like small checks here and there. I just did one recently with this company, and maybe I'll talk about it next time. And the things I see are like grit, willingness to learn and grow, high EQ and emotional intelligence. Obviously, general cognitive ability, IQ is important, but I think like their willingness to learn is much more important. And do they have just like a run through the walls attitude, and do they have a really big why for why they want to do this? You have enough of those things that, and I'm talking about early stage investing, pre-seed and seed. If you see that, you can feel that right away when you talk to somebody, and these types of people are just winners. They're just winners. They're gonna win. They're gonna do whatever it takes. That's what you look for, and I enjoy that. So I don't know. I don't think I would ever do like full-time investing. I don't think I'd ever become a VC. But it is fun to like sit and hear a founder's pitch and just be like, yeah, no way, or like, and it's nothing to do with the deck. It's nothing to do with the idea. It's never the idea. The idea doesn't matter at all. A great founder will pivot and pivot and pivot until they have a winner, like whatever it takes. Even I have. My idea has changed so much along the way. I mean, you guys have even seen that.
Yeah.
You've been there for the journey. It's just like, starts as one thing, becomes another. So it's not about that. It's about, do you actually want to play this game? Are you like ready to play this game? Do you enjoy this game? You want to chew glass? Because it's not tasty.
Love chewing
Yeah.
glass.
Anyway, I like this article. It came at like a perfect moment for me because our company's growing so fast, and we're like kind of at that moment where you're like, oh shit, should I hire someone to manage at least this portion of the business? And because like there's a lot of people in our company now, and they're all kind of like reporting up. It's a lot of people to manage, a lot of details to be in. And it just came at the right moment to be like, not so fast. Like, you can still hire people to do things, but you can still stay in the details without micromanaging and letting people do their thing. So, anyway, I enjoyed it.
Good one.
Cool. Thanks
All right,
for
guys.
sharing.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. Hope you guys like some of those stories. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week. Again, Wednesday, 5 p.m. PST. We love you guys all for joining. If you haven't liked the video already, give it a like, please. And guys, love you lots. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.